Hello, and thank you for joining us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. I'm Ayodele Ozubakun. Today, we'll start with Journalist Hangout Weekend Special, where the Lagos State Commissioner of Police speaks on the menace of commercial motorcycles, popularly called Okada, as state government consider outright ban. Juson urges federal government to deduct judiciary funds from May federal account allocation. As strikes continue, and later on the show, President Buhari vows to resist bandits' threats to disrupt food production as NEMA commences distribution of relief materials in 24,925 households in Niger State. Says 14 local government areas are currently in need of food support. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Mojid Jamiu. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. Now, after taking power, consolidating of power is the task that demands adoption of strategies. The new military leader of Chad, General Mohamed Debi, was in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, to see President Muhammadu Buhari on issues of mutual concern, especially peace and stability in the Lake Chad region. Gentlemen, Idris Deby, the father, died, and some few weeks after the father left, some days after the father left, General Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja on a state visit. Now, after his death, the son that took over to show the close relationship we have with Chad Republic has visited President Muhammadu Buhari. Jide, what is the significance of this visit?
Yes, it's significant because we have to get Chad on side in the desire to win the war the northeast region. Chad has to be on our side. Chad is the most strategic of all the countries around us militarily, because it has military capacity that the countries around us do not have. And we share a border with them. No matter how small our border with Chad is, is not more than 40 kilometers. You know, Niger Republic, for example, we have extensive borders with them in the region of 1,000 kilometers, because Niger has borders with us in about 7 Nigerian states. But in the case of Chad, it's just around the island that we have this little border with Chad. But Chad is very strategic. Its military is very capable. They are experienced in the kind of warfare that our soldiers are engaged in. You remember, they have fought for more than 40 years, kind of civil war, so they are battle-hardened, they are good in desert warfare, and military analysts believe that the Chadian army is in fact the most seasoned in the whole of the West African region. You can see that they have they send troops to Mali, they send troops to Cameroon to stabilize Cameroon at some point. So different countries on the continent have had to call on Chad to assist them at one point or another. And being our neighbors, we need them to help us defeat Boko Haram. Remember, they came to Nigeria in 2015, and they helped us to take over some local governments in Borno North that Boko Haram was controlling at that time. They paid with their lives. They lost many soldiers, you know. So, but now the president is gone. It makes me happy that they've been able to stabilize things. Some Nigerians especially were carrying rumors that the son was dead, that he killed his father, said this, he killed some other people, but all those things have been discovered to be false. And the insurrection in the north of Chad has been put under control. So Mahamat has stabilized things to a large extent, and the president is eager to show him that, look, you will have the support of Nigeria whenever you need it, because we have had to ask for your support in the past. Remember when President Buhari took over, he traveled to Chad. That was his first visit, and his message was that Chad should help stabilize the multinational joint task force. We already have an arrangement that the headquarters will be in Chad, but it will be under the command of a Nigerian general, and we have maintained that. So we need to work together to stabilize that region. It's a good thing that the young man who has taken over from his dad appears to be bent on sustaining the old relationships that his father held on to dearly.
Majid, what's how he got to power? A lot of people are still criticizing it, that it's like a military coup. The democratic structure was suspended, but we are looking at the relationship with Nigeria here, and the guy is barely 1 month in office, but he had to visit Nigeria, and it shows the kind of relationship we keep.
It shows that Mahamat is very smart, and that he has been learning. While in Abuja a few days ago, he was also able to intimate President Muhammad Buhari of his plans towards democratization. He promised that he won't stay beyond 18 months in office.
He won't stay more than that 18 months.
He won't stay more than that 18 months. And to show commitment, and so to show that he has a unifying factor, he also told Buhari that he has appointed the runners-up to his dad in that botched election, as his prime minister. As a way of, and that he has started appealing to other opposition members that they should join hands together to have a unified Chad. And like Jide actually said, a lot of the heat and tension generated has been going down, which means that it's fast settling down. It's getting a lot of cooperation from both Nigeria and even France. You recall that the French president was at the burial of his dad. To show that not only it's not only that Nigeria is supporting Chad, they are colonial masters too. France is also very much in support of the need to have peace in Chad, because a united and peaceful Chad means quite a lot to the whole of the Sahel region. Chad is very, very critical and crucial to stability, especially with the bandits, movement of bandits and terrorists around the West African sub-region. And the Chadian army has been proven, has been tested. They have even had to make incursions into several countries around that region to help in checkmating the incidents of ISWAP, Boko Haram, ISIS, and what have you. So coming to Nigeria, it's a very, very good diplomatic move. And from the discussions, it shows that he knows his onions, is settling fast, and we expect that we'll continue to have a very good symbiotic relationship with Chad towards tackling the bandits.
Okay, moving on now. The menace of commercial motorcycle, popularly called Okada riders in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, has reached an alarming proportion. The state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is talking tough, considering outright ban of Okada in the states. Lending his voice to the debate at a stakeholders meeting on security in Lagos, the State Commissioner of Police, Akim Odumosu, said they commit several atrocities to warrant their ban. One of these is incessant accident caused by them on the highway. Let's hear from Akim Odumosu, the Commissioner of Police.
Unfortunately, the government's good intention of providing additional means of land transportation and creating jobs for the teeming unemployed youths has been negated by the atrocities being perpetrated by Okada operators in the states. This includes the use of Okada as veritable tools to commit crime and get away with it by hoodlums. The respect to traffic rules and regulations The Okada operators becoming nuisance and reckless on our roads, resulting into avoidable accidents with attendant consequences on human life. Okada accidents on our roads are mostly caused by recklessness and lawlessness of the drivers, the riders. It is common sight in Lagos metropolis to see Okada operators ride recklessly on highway facing oncoming road users, especially during traffic peak periods. An ugly twist to all this is that anytime there is accident caused by the reckless act, they, the motorcyclists, often mobilize to traumatize the helpless motorists involved in the accidents. They oftentimes, during this careless act of theirs, mob their victims, create avenue for their colleagues and other social miscreants alike to unleash terror and theft of valuable items in the vehicle of the victims and other sympathizers around. Available record in the command revealed that from January to 9th of May 2021, the statistics of Okada accidents are January 90, February 76, March 101, April 84, and May, just 9 days, 34 till date. Out of these figures, the following numbers are motorcycle-related accidents. January 64, representing 71.1%. February 50, representing 65.8%. March 101, representing 78.4%. April 66, representing 70.2%. And May 20, representing 3 till date. In further analyzing the data, the figure for January includes 41 cases in which there were fatalities, 18 cases with injuries, while 5 were just minor accidents. In February, 37 cases of fatalities, which means that people lost their life as that. So 10 cases with injuries, while 3 minor incidents were recorded. March, 58 people lost their life on Okada crisis accidents, 58 in 1 month alone. 16 cases with injuries, while 6 were. April, 42 cases were recorded. That is those who died in Okada accidents, in which there were fatalities. 17 cases were ordinary injuries, while 8 were minor accidents. So all these facilities, the statistics here. So the emergence of Okada business has undoubtedly and inadvertently increased the rate of road accidents in the states.
Since the former administration of Akiwumi Ambody and even Fashola administration, there's a kind of controversy over the activities of this Okada. At a point in time, they were actually banned from restricted areas, and the measure, those areas they were highlighted, and some local governments in this administration moving further. At a point in time, it became very difficult after the NSAS to actually implement the ban. Now it's now like a free-for-all for Okada. Fly any routes, see them on the highways, and it has become a big hydra-headed problem in Lagos State now.
I listened to the Commissioner of Police talking about some of the excesses of the Okada riders. He went deep into the idiosyncrasies of the average commercial motorcyclist in a speech carefully researched. So, and as you heard, there he was saying that they have no respect for traffic laws. Now, if they have no respect for traffic laws, you don't expect them to even honor the agreement that they should not ply some designated routes. They fail to honor that. So everywhere, even the places that they've been told they should not ride their bikes on, they are being seen everywhere. He also talked about the fact that that accidents are caused by their recklessness. You know, in Lagos State, between 2019 and 2020, out of about 10,000 Okada-related accidents, 600 persons died. 600 from or avoidable accidents. Avoidable accidents. So he's saying that anytime those accidents happen, it is usually caused by the recklessness of the Okada rider. And another thing he said was that whenever these accidents happen, they use the opportunity to unleash terror on the victim of the accident. Like if a car hits an Okada rider,
All the Okada
whether the Okada rider
hits a car.
whether the Okada rider was at fault, because sometimes they jump into your front. You are riding, you are driving, they jump onto your front and cause you, whether they are at fault or not,
they overwhelm that person.
they will surround you, and during that period, some of them steal valuables from the victim. So this are part of what the Commissioner of Police said. As I said, I was at the forum. I moderated the forum, and he said a lot. In fact, I've been seeing people doing research on Okada. This Commissioner of Police took his time. He did extensive work. So, but this is what is my own summary of what he said in that clip.
If you listen to him, you will see that, look, this is like a groundwork. You need to do your research. You need to know the effects. You need to know the impact of any action the state government will be taking.
Yeah. Like Jide rightly pointed out, I think Akim Odumosu is a fantastic guy. You know, you don't just jump to conclusions. He has his plans well tailored out, backed with data. And between January and May 10, he was able to give us detailed analysis, data. Because of course I monitored that session live on, it was streamed live on Facebook, so I monitored it. Now, in January, total accidents in Lagos State, both vehicular, Okada, Keke, and what have you, 90. Out of the 90, 64 were Okada, representing 71%. And out
90
of
accidents?
Yes, out of 90.
The whole of January? The
whole of January, 64 were Okada-based, and representing 71%. Now, with a fatality of 41, 41 people died, mainly from the 64 Okada. In February, there were 76 accidents in total in Lagos, out of which 50 were Okada-based, again 65%. Now, 32 people died. That's fatalities. In March, 101. All
the spike.
Yeah, all including vehicles, Okada, and what have you, out of which 80 were Okada, representing about 78%, and with 58 fatalities. Yeah, 58 fatalities. April, we had 84 cases of accidents in several places. 66 out of the 84 were Okada, representing 70%, and 42 casualties. 42 people died. Between May 1 and May 10, because we are still in May, today is May 16, 34 had already been, the accidents had already been recorded, out of which 20 are Okada-based, with, and that's representing 83% of the total percentage of accidents. That's Okada accidents, with 14 fatalities. In fact, about 10 days ago on a Friday, the Friday before this one, that's penultimate Friday, in Ogba, banks had to shut down because an Okada rider jumped. They had a hint that it was unruly. He jumped traffic lights around the Excellence Hotel area. It was apprehended while the police were trying to search the Okada. They tried to resist. Now, lo and behold, before you know what could happen, they started attacking the policemen with an attempt to burn Area G police station. The
Right.
whole of the place was shut down.
Okay, speaking further, Odumosu said several crimes are attributed to hoodlums who operate on Okada, while many of them are involved in drug peddling.
So the menace of Okada operators does not end with avoidable accidents as highlighted above. Crime reports on the field have shown that a greater percentage of crimes, ranging from armed robbery, causing kidnapping, murder, burglary and stealing, traffic robbery, to carjacking and cash snatching from bank customers who go to the banks to make transactions, are attributable to armed hoodlums who operate on Okada. So also ferrying of arms. It has been established of Okadas being illegally used as a veritable means of conveying hard drugs from one point to another. The consequences of spreading of hard drugs and its consumption are imagined than being said.
So the major transportation which criminals deploy to carry out their nefarious acts around Lagos is basically Okada. That's the fastest getaway, way
It's
to
the fastest means of getting away.
Yes, fastest means of getting away from the crime scene.
Because you know that even if you are being chased by maybe a police vehicle, there are some bends that they can't negotiate. There are some narrow areas that they can easily negotiate. So, as you can see there, he was very methodical. He's gone now to even the issue of illicit drugs that they use Okada to distribute illicit drugs to patrons, because it allows you to get away easily. Not only that, he also talked about crimes, other crimes that they commit with Okada, including carjacking. Two of them could just, while on the bike, they could, two Okadas could just swamp you. One of them will come down and then they snatch your car and they go away. He also said that that the bad ones amongst them always carry firearms, illicit weapons with which they rob people. The one thing that he said that really struck me is the way they rob bank customers. Bank customers, usually when people are coming out of the bank, some of them, when they have maybe you have a small bag that you are carrying, they'll be monitoring you, you will not know. They will just snatch the money from you and escape. The Okada provides an opportunity for them to get away easily from the crime scene. And that is why for many criminals, bikes are the best means of executing their nefarious activities. Look at in Benue State, for example, the Sankera area. That's the area where Senator, the former governor of the state, Suswam, comes from. The governor banned the use of motorbikes. After banning the use of motorbikes, the members of Ghana's gang have been piling pressure that the ban should be lifted, because that is what they use to perpetrate their activities. They live in the bush. In the bush, they can't ride cars easily, but the Okada provides an opportunity for them to get around, rob people, and escape from the scene. So this is the point. If we want to defeat illicit drugs, then we also have to take a look at how illicit drugs get distributed, and that is one of the points that the Commissioner of Police raised in that clip.
Mojid, so if it's almost inevitable now that something drastic will have to be done about Okada, but there's always this sentiment, that where do you want them to go? What do you want them to do? some of them riding their bikes, they're graduates, they're this, they're that, you know, always this. What is the plan B for them?
It's unfortunate that it's not everybody that can make it in Lagos. I mean, there's this saying that, well, I mean, until I get to Lagos, I mean, same way, it's not everybody that can go abroad and make it in abroad. Although we say it's a greener pasture, Lagos is a no man's land. It's a place of opportunities. But if we are dreaming of Lagos as a smart city, as a mega city, then you can't run a mega city with an Okada means of transportation. Fine, it provides job for some people, but then when this job is becoming a menace to others, then something has to be done. You can, from the screen, you can see the data that we are seeing on the screen now. The number of incidents, robbery, cultism, carjacking, what have you, related to Okada, 218 between January and May. I mean, then the number of ammunition, total ammunition recovered, 480, out of which about 58 are like something like guns, like arms, very terrible arms, like den guns, AK-47 and what have you. So, no government will fold its arms and allow these kind of things to continue. The way they operate in traffic, those waiting for, those who go to withdraw in banks, cultism, drug peddling, all those stuff, there are Okada is a very quick way of escape for those who engage in those illicit activities. So government can't fold its arms and allow this menace to continue in the, as an alternative to provision of employment. No, it's not only Okada that can provide jobs, but even if Okada provides jobs, then have we done the necessary checks to ensure that most of these Okadas are not even numbered? They are, and those riding this Okada, most of them are not even Nigerians. And if you check very well, and they are totally out of control. No means of identification. At night, go to under the bridges, major bus stop. You see them sleeping right on the Okada at night. So, and they believe that traffic laws, traffic rules, traffic lights are not made for them. They jump traffic lights at will.
And when accident happens as a result, they will still attack the victim.
They will still attack the victim. So no government will fold his arms or close his eyes and watch this to happen.
You can't be riding against traffic. You can't be riding against traffic, especially during congestion.
Yeah.
You can't be riding against traffic. Sometimes even this congestion, you cause it you cause it in the first place. And then you now ride against traffic, which can lead to death. People can easily be run over by vehicles when you are bringing them, you are driving against traffic.
And when it happens, despite the fact that they are the one that is in the wrong lane, they will attack the motorist first.
Yes. I've seen a woman that they humiliated like that in my area. The woman was begging, they were already even tearing her clothes.
Come together.
I don't understand.
2 months,
stopping immediately. 2
months ago, it was God that saved one of our friends. He was driving his vehicle, parked around 7:30 p.m. It was dark. From nowhere, an Okada with no headlamp just hit this guy. The next thing he saw was that he passed out. It was God that saved him.
No headlamp.
No headlamp at 8 o'clock at night. So they don't believe that rules are made for them, and with that kind of mindset, I think. As a palliative, I think the government is planning to introduce some vehicles. I think there's something we need to discuss also.
Odumosu is also accused the Okada riders of being accomplices of armed robbery gangs by passing information about police movements to them to evade arrests.
Well, it's
informant that these people.
A lot of the, when you look at the situation that we found ourselves, unregistered bike riders,
there's
people who are not even Nigerians, a lot of them go to Lekki.
Some of them, you call them, yes.
There are some of them, English. I've spoken even Hausa to them. They can't speak a word of Hausa. They are not Nigerians. Even Hausa. I'm telling you, there are many of them. And there is even no, when people come into your country like that, it gives the impression that we are so wide open to all comers. We have to know people coming into our country. If people come into our country, we don't know who they are. They could be criminals, they could be bad people, and they come in. Then we should not be surprised that some of them will be involved in criminal activities. Some of them are even members of robbery gangs. I mean, the point has been made that a lot of them are criminals. So it's just like, okay, you are part of our gang, stay in this road intersection to monitor the movement of security agents. And even when as soon as they commit the crime, they are available to just take those guys away. There was a time when the Okada riders in Lagos were trying to sanitize their ranks, because robberies by Okada riders was so rampant. That was in around 2007, 2008. But in the end, they didn't succeed, because even although they have an association, but it is not coming into that group. It's not regulated
at all.
Anybody who has not found a job will simply think that the best thing they can do is to go and start riding.
And the association is more interested in the revenue it will generate for members.
Yes. Okay. So they have to be more, and they have to be regulated so that you even know the people coming into your group. But that's not the case.
Okay. Let's listen to the commissioner talking on this armed robbery gang, passing information about police movement.
Accomplices of Okada in armed robbery gang have also been reported to ride ahead of armed robbers who are escaping in raw vehicles and pass information of police locations and movements through GSM to them so that they can evade arrests. At other times, they conduct surveillance around selected persons, private and government facilities, and other targets before calling in the operational arm of the gang to strike. In most of these cases, security operatives are falling victim as they are found to be attacked to decimate and destabilize them before going to their targets.
Majid, on this.
Yeah, you couldn't have put it in a better perspective. Jungle Justice assisting criminally minded people to get away
from justice.
And I mean, like I said, in the one that happened in Nogba, the police was trying to search that Okada, and eventually they found a gun on that Okada. They were trying to, they masked around the police officers before he could seek for enforcement. That was just about 10 days ago, like 2 Fridays ago. So, if not for the enforcement, they were almost beating the...
overwhelmed them.
Yes. I mean, they were overwhelming the policeman to the extent
that's the latest trend now.
They even wanted to burn Area G police station. So, they are, a clog in the wheel of progress for justice. So, no government will...
And they're always ready to confront law enforcement
agents. And beyond that, because they don't have any means of identification apart from some funny ID cards of that there. Most of them, most of those bikes are not even registered, so you can't even profile the motorbike.
Some have no number plates.
No number plates.
I know.
It's
I know
also that they can get away with.
Yes, I know some smaller states like Ondo states. They've been able to regulate these activities, and those guys are registered.
70% of them don't even have what we call the driver's license. I mean, as a motorbike operator, you must have a license issued by the road safety. They don't have it.
No, they don't.
So
a lot of them are aliens.
So there is no way you can profile them.
It will be easier for many states to control and regulate activities of motorcycle taxis in their states than Lagos, because Lagos is a gateway. People coming in from Benin Republic, for example, they're coming in from Benin Republic. They think that Lagos is the place to come and do this business. A lot of those boys you see are from Benin Republic. They don't even understand Hausa
at all.
They don't. They don't understand a word of Hausa, but they will look like Northerners to us. No, but they are not Northerners. Secondly, a lot of the states have banned the activities of motorcycle, commercial motorcycles. Now, with Lagos refusing to ban, but merely doing what appeared to pussyfooting or tokenism, I think that the step that Lagos took in the past was mere tokenism. They were able,
some local government
they were able to now who even ensures that in those so-called local governments
the enforcement,
that
yes, they don't have the
that's always the issue of enforcement. Some of the policemen that you see also have motorbikes that they give out to people to ride on. Some of the soldiers have. So when you see some people misbehaving as riders, they believe that they have a policeman behind them, that even if you arrest them, the policeman will ensure that they are released. Some of them are soldiers. You see them that, don't take a bike to the international airport. Maybe you are traveling out of Nigeria and you are late. You see a man volunteering to take you all the way there. When you probe further, you see that he's a soldier. So where you have the law and the law is not total, even in the content of the law, it is not total. People will look for excuse to commit crime. So I don't believe that the idea of designating some roads as places that they cannot pass, ride bikes, I don't think that thing has succeeded. I don't think it has succeeded. In fact, it looks now like it is not being enforced anymore.
Taking over most of the roads.
So places that are designated as no-go areas, you now see them go, even riding against traffic in those places. So anything that the government would do, the law has to be seen to be total in its, in its conception and even implementation. Any piecemeal measure would not work.
There must be the willpower to ensure enforcement, beyond just mouthing it. Recall that February 1st, 2020, Okada was banned in 15 local government and LCDAs in Lagos. But it only lasted for just about a month or two before the advent of coronavirus, and everything fizzled out. So there must be this incoming ban, which is now almost inevitable. The government must have the willpower to ensure enforcement, probably getting more hands for the security agencies to ensure that, because if we just mouth it and just say it,
enforcement is the key.
Enforcement is very key. Odumosu has given us all the data, and we have a state that is willing, and I know that, I've heard that some small buses are coming to cushion the effect of the removal of all these Okadas from the roads. But beyond that, there must be enforcement. And also, those security personnel who operate all this Okada or who have this Okada must ensure that, they also are law abiding. Also, they must.
Yes, and they must act as if they are above the
yes,
law.
that
when you are riding Okada and you are passing BRT lane.
BRT lane. I was going to say that, especially on the Abule Egba corridor, the Yanopaja Abule Egba corridor. You see dangerous. Them. You think the BRT lane has now been made an Okada lane. You see them there in to the extent that the BRT buses have to park for them.
That was for soldiers.
No, for the Okada riders. I mean, so, and if you apprehend some of these Okada,
and you must not kill them.
You must not kill them or even knock them. So it's rather unfortunate.
Another menace of Okada riders, according to the CP, is the perpetration of jungle justice, in which several innocent lives have been lost. Let's listen to Odumosu.
Another frightening menace of the Okada riders is the impunity with which they carry out their jungle justice on innocent and unfortunate members of the public. A typical example of this was what happened in Kurodu roundabout on the 2nd of June 2020, where a motorist, one Mr. Osman Bachiru, aged 58 years, was alleged to have hit a beggar by Kurodu roundabout, which never happened after the investigation. And the man was pursued to a jet area and hacked to death on broad daylight. This shows how inhuman they are. They take laws to their hands with arrogant impunity.
Okay, I have my first caller on the line. John is calling us from Mile 2. Thank you for staying with us, John.
Mile 12.
Mile 12, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Go ahead with your contribution, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fine. The Okada menace cannot. It's not an issue that can be discussed anyhow. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go on, please.
Okay. The disorganized Okada's system helps the job, but they are menace. We all agree. They help to create a job, but they are menace. We all agree. But I am blaming the local government for all the menace. I am blaming the local government because you must have a minimum qualification to ride an Okada. You must be licensed to ride Okada. You must be checked for drugs. But the local government or people that are sponsoring the Okada do not at all. And then the issue of those who are riding that are foreigners, they are not identified. It is this the local government that are not doing their job at all. And I'm of the opinion that first of all, before you become an Okada rider, you must have passed secondary school. Two, you must be drug-free.
If it's 18 above.
Then two, thirdly, let the local government give them a card, an ID card. They should only be identified in one local government with uniform. So any person that steals in another local government is a problem.
Okay.
That's the way we should solve this problem.
Thank you.
You made some valid points. I think local governments, especially in Lagos, are merely interested in the tax,
IGR.
The IGR that they can make, from these Okada riders. They do not register them or try to regulate them in any way. All they are just after is just let's collect money from these people. You don't even care who that person is. So as for the issue of whether they should have minimum qualification, I don't think riding Okada deserves any special skill. So it's not everybody that can go to school.
You're not piloting a plane.
So they don't need to have a secondary education, but they need to behave like people who have sanity in place.
Jide, another issue I want to take in on is that with the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics bringing out unemployment statistics over 33.3% of a population of like 200 million people, I can tell you for free that fresh graduates that they've sought for job, looked for job in the last 5 years, 10 years, that are frustrated, that they want something to be coming in, at least that they use that Okada to feed their family and their extended family. If you say you want to get them out of the road, if you want to, streamline the activities in any way, the backlash might be on insecurity, because what do you want these people to do?
people said that about Kano. Before now, Kano had the largest number of commercial motorcyclists in Nigeria. I lived in Kano for 7 years, so I know what I'm talking about. Okada is a relatively new phenomenon in Lagos. It wasn't like this for people who had been coming to Lagos maybe like 30 years ago, 20 years ago. They would easily say that the menace of Okada, it was never,
It wasn't a means of transport.
It was in the south. It was in the south that motorcycles were first used like taxi in our country. Places like Calabar, all of those areas, Ecom and all that. It wasn't really part of people's lives here. You get the point that I'm making? Yes, the city has expanded, but I'm saying that it had not always been like this in Lagos, that you see Okada everywhere. No. Yes, there is unemployment, but the most important thing is to protect people's lives, so secure our communities. And we are saying that a lot of these motorbike riders that you see, they are criminals, they are not from our country. So when you are talking about graduates, there are many graduates who are riding. How many are those graduates? In Lagos State, there are schemes that the government has introduced that graduates can key into. Empowerment schemes that government has introduced that people can key into. And I remember when Akpabio wanted to ban Okada in his state, Akwa Ibom. You know, he likes to do his own with panache, show that there's so much money. It was taxes that he bought.
He bought taxes.
He bought taxes and they became, many people thought that it could never happen because it had been part of their lives for many decades. Why did it happen in Kano? Boko Haram was killing people and they were using motorbikes. They will get to a checkpoint, they see policemen, they open fire. They see soldiers, they open fire. They had to ban commercial motorcycle riding in Kano. Go to Kano today. If you see anybody riding an Okada, it's not a commercial motorcycle. That is his own. That is his own. If you carry a passenger, then you have infringed on that law in Kano. Many of us thought it could never happen in Kano. If you asked maybe my boss and mentor, Dakpolon Yomi, I'm sure he never believed that it could happen in Kano. Because when you are talking about Okada riding, there was no place like Kano in terms of the quantum of Okada riders and all that. Or even in Sokoto, you see them using what you call lady motorcycle. That's what they ride in Sokoto.
Yeah,
so in northern,
like a Vespa.
Yes, in northern Nigeria, they even got used to it before us in Lagos. So if it could be banned in Kano to secure people's lives, then nobody should tell me, there will be unemployment. Kano has not collapsed. And Kano's position as a center of commerce has not diminished. It's still the Tumbingiwa that they call it, which means the belly of the elephant. You know, it's still a massive commercial center in our country. So sometimes we are scared. If this happens, what will happen? It should not happen. If this, and then it happens, and nothing happens. All we can do is appeal to the Lagos State government to live up to its promise to provide alternatives. Identify critical routes where these people are usually concentrated. And release buses to those places, release those small buses to those places.
And even cabs.
I wanted to ask you, because there are areas that this Okada they ply that even they don't have vehicular movement there, as in bad roads and everything. That's why people take Okada to access remote areas.
But keke can also pass on.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's less dangerous.
what I'm trying not to ask now, the bus that they are bringing, will it be enough to cater for what Okada can do? Do you know the number of routes that Okada is flying in this Lagos and the Trunk-C routes that they are serving as, like a so-called means of transport?
You see, AY, the truth
because
is...
effectively, you can put 200,000 people out of job.
Yeah, no, the truth is, government can't provide all the transportation that we need. It can only try. That's why the private sector should also key in. But we cannot say because government cannot provide that and leave Okadas to continue to kill people. You just saw the data as released by the Commissioner of Police.
To commit crime.
So, I mean,
when you go to South Africa, do you see them?
Do you see
Lagos aspires to be
a mega city.
A mega city
and
now,
a smart city.
When you want to compare yourself with capitals of some countries in the world, even in Africa, starting with Cairo, Johannesburg, and do you see people,
and even Accra?
Even in Accra, a friend of mine, when I went to Accra the last time, he was saying, when you are talking about Lagos, it is Okada that comes to mind.
Honestly,
the sheer number is strange to my Ghanaian friend. How can? So the thing is, there is nowhere in the world where commercial motorcycle has been the dominant means of mass transit. No, it is still rail. All we can do is encourage our government to even invest in rail. For example, you can imagine how great it will be for us to be able to get up from Lagos Island and go to Ajangbadi by rail, or even go to Ekpe by rail, all the way from Lagos Island. It's still the best means of moving people around. So government, as a futuristic, this thing should move into, invest in that area.
I know the song who is talking about.
Dari is calling us from Ekpe.
No, from Barua in Lagos.
Barua. Okay, that's Ayobok area.
Good afternoon, everybody in the studio.
Good afternoon.
What I just want to complain about what we are talking about is that during Fasola time, hello.
Yes, go ahead.
During Fasola time, there is a law about these Okada people. And the police, all the police officers in Lagos, they work very well on that issue. During Ambode, they act very well. There's a police officer they call the man Tunde Sobulo.
Former RRS commander.
Yes, Tunde Sobulo. Any station, this man is a police officer. He's deputy commissioner of police. He used to enter every police station in Lagos State. Any Okada is found in the station, either is the DPO that own it, or DCO, or Inspector Crime. He will park every Okada in that station, take it to Alausa, hand over it to the task force. You can see the law in Lagos State now. Very fast for that, they set every street in Lagos. You don't need to put gate, but go to every state, every street in Lagos State now. Every landlord are building, they close the street. They put iron gate so that there's no way, if there's a traffic in any other, there's no way to pass. It may be just for building that street. They will make sure they block the street and put the gate. So we need our governor to introduce law, permanent law, that will work not only for his time, but maybe another person is coming. The law will continue.
Thank you, Dari.
We need in Lagos State.
Thank you, Dari, for your contribution.
So, like I was saying, I think if we have an efficient rail system like the government is talking about blue rail and red rail, we need to see this thing on ground. And also,
blue line and red line.
Yeah, blue line and red line. I think one was flagged off recently. The foundation stone was laid. And also the lighter buses, the smaller buses, and the cabs that are coming. I think they call it Lagos Ride or something. It was launched a few days ago. if those could come in, it will also assist. But like I said,
a lot of private.
There is no way the government alone can provide all the means of transport, but at least to ease movement, some of this will come, and keke could be an alternative too. We should stop looking at quick fixes of in terms of a means of transportation by hailing a bike all the time. Even for us individuals, we should be mindful of our own lives.
Yes, the danger to your life.
Danger to our lives, but some people don't care. And with the data that is being read out on a daily basis, crimes committed, number of fatalities, I don't think Okada is the best bet for us. So,
even the poorest nations of the world.
Yeah.
Even the poorest nations of the world, it is not an option. And that's why I'm saying the best means of mass transit is still rail.
Yeah.
You move a lot of people by rail. Look at India. A lot of people are moved through the rail system. Governments can do a lot along that line. See the way BRT has succeeded. It has eased the pains of many people.
Yeah.
They go to work, they come back through BRT.
Some of them even have Wi-Fi now.
Yes.
The buses.
Yeah. So they are clean. They need to get more BRT buses.
Charge your phones.
They need to get more BRT buses.
Yes.
So that then there may be a need to even expand the routes.
I think some
for
are right
BRT buses. They need to expand the routes, so that the city is expanding. So
and also ensure that those routes are not converted to Okada routes, because like the Abulewa corridor now is becoming
if they are banned ultimately, as we suspect will happen, how can anyone convert BRT lane to?
You need to see the Agege Bridge right now that they just commissioned. Underneath it is like an Okada motor park, and half of the roads Okada has taken over it. All right, one more atrocity which Odumosu cited for the need to ban Okada is that hoodlums and cultists move around on registered motorcycles. Now, he also said it's that, look, while kidnappers use them to take their various victims without trace.
It was also on record that hoodlums, cultists move about in large numbers on Okada, mostly non-registered, to carry attack on rival cult groups or reprisal on rival cultists and other criminal activities. This usually makes it impossible to track them. In the same vein, hoodlums, with the use of Okada, invade residential areas, especially at night times, to rob innocent citizens, while kidnappers also use Okada to bury away their victims in most cases. Records have shown that they frequently snatch phones and bags from all suspect members of the public at bus stops and crowded areas and disappear into thin air in the jiffy before reports could get to security agencies.
In the morning, if you are like an early bird in Lagos and you wake up around maybe 5:30, 5 o'clock, and you're going to work, and you're fortunate, you see when you stand at the bus stop, you see you can be passing, the Okada can pass by you, snatch their bags, and I've seen cases like that they've snatched their bags as the Okada will just do as if they're passing by and zoom off, and that's the fastest way to commit this crime.
Yes. There was a friend of mine who left his 2 phones on top of his car and forgot. So when he started driving off, the phones slid down the road. One was picked up for him by a bystander. The second one, and that one happened to be the more expensive of the 2. He just saw an Okada rider move straight to where the phone was. He was looking at him from his rear window. As the guy grabbed the thing. He thought he would come and give it to him the way others gave it to him. He just sped off on his bike. He just sped off. So you see a lot of my pastor's children. They were going to this Magboro. So the Okada man now he had two of them, twin sisters. He now stopped, and it was in the night around 9 p.m. Now told them that he think that he had problems with the engine. So he said he didn't have a phone, and that they should give him their phone that was going to use the light to try and correct something. So both of them came down. You know, they came down. He was fiddling with the thing. Then he climbed the bike, pretending that I was trying to pick something. The phone was still with him.
With him.
Suddenly he sped off with the phone. Yes, and left the two of them right there at the road junction. In the night, left the two guys, just sped off.
Honestly, we can go on and on from what Dumosu at that security summit. He said 92 cases of robbery were traced to Okada between January and May. And also 38 were traced to cult-related activities.
Cultism is a big problem.
It's a big problem. You see them on Okada now in groups. I mean, Okada, groups of about 4, 5, 6 Okada moving about. I mean, one cult group and another, engaging themselves in serious.
It's a big problem, Lagos.
So, especially in the Ikorodu axis, even Lekki, Victoria, everywhere. So it's
all those artisans.
All those artisans. They now even belong to different groups, and that's why
different cult groups.
It's easy for them to gather themselves together.
Statistics.
Yeah, you can see.
January we had 90, February 76, March 101, April 84, and May 36. Now the number of accidents through motorcycles specifically, that's 64 in January, 50 in February, 18 March, 66 in April, and 20 in May. Look at the statistics, the percentage.
Even May is just between May 1st and May 9th.
So that means May will be...
No, it will go up.
It will go up.
It will go up.
Yeah.
It's a preliminary report for May. It's not...
and you can see the percentage.
Just within 8 days.
Not even half of the month.
So no government will have this kind of statistics and allow this menace to continue.
No country or no community can even develop with the kind of insecurity and lawlessness that we are seeing. If the road signs are there for you to obey them, traffic lights are there for you to obey them, but if you now imagine yourself to be law unto yourself, and you fail to obey the laws, it's the state of anarchy that we are joking with. So whatever government does, it must have the political will. It must have the political will to take the big decisions and to do what is right. You know, once you say you don't need them anymore, Enugu State was one of these. After 1999, Enugu State was among the first to ban them, and it was all because of crime. That was why Chimaroke did it at that time, and he succeeded. Go to even Abia, they would rather use the keke now, the tricycle. You know, because they believe that one, at least you can maneuver easily with it. So it's safer. So Lagos can still retain those ones.
Right, you know? I think it's a bold step the Lagos state government must take. And I'm happy that
But they will need to sensitize Lagosians.
No, you see...
Carry out like we are doing now.
Now, one good thing now, AY and Jide, is the fact that this statistics, this data is coming from the police. So it's not as if government is taking this decision without the
without
police,
the facts.
without the facts. So if the police is the one bringing out this information now, I mean, for government to act on, then the enforcement shouldn't be a problem.
You know, when we are even talking about fatalities, these are facts only from public hospitals. Which means that a lot of people
Go to private hospitals.
could have died after being taken to private hospitals. These are just from public hospitals.
Wow.
It was public hospitals that the police used. And we all know that in our country, a lot of people don't even use the public hospitals.
Yes.
And so it means that the rate of fatality will certainly be higher than this.
So ultimately, we expect that the Lagos State government, they will actually take a decision on this thing.
We don't know what decision eventually.
The level.
Yes. We just hope that the pussyfooting that we've had in the past,
because the last time
will not
we were given some areas that are
it's meaninless.
That one is still in order, but nobody is as if it's not even existing.
When Kano was going to do his own, he didn't say this place. You want to do a total ban. What is all this pussyfooting about? What's all this? If you want to take a decision, a big decision, take the big decision, and let us see what happens afterwards. Did we go to Cairo to see them going around in Cairo like that? We want to be like Cairo. We want to be like Johannesburg. It can't happen.
All right. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It is Journalist Hangout on Sunday, and I still have Mojid Jamiu and Babajide Kolade Otitoju in the studio. Now, since the 6th of April, members of the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria, JUSON, have been on strike over autonomy for the judicial arm of government. A proposed state account allocation committee sacked by 36 states governors to oversee distribution of funds to the three arms of government at the state level has been rejected by the union. JUSON says it is payment of funds meant for the judiciary directly from the federation account or nothing as guaranteed by the constitution. It's a fight to finish, it seems. Babajide.
Yes, it's a fight to the finish. And after sacrificing for all these weeks, I can see why the judiciary workers are insistent on continuing with their industrial action. There's no reason in the world for these governors to be doing what they are doing. What's the big deal about giving autonomy to the judiciary? It's always been there in the Constitution. Section 212, subsection 3 of the Constitution. It's guaranteed. And any governor who is opposed to autonomy for the judiciary is committing judicial sacrilege and deserves to be punished. As one of our guests said some time ago, in future, maybe like after they leave office, some of these governors should be prosecuted for some of the ignoble actions that they have taken. If Mr. President, who is the head of the executive at federal level, allows funds meant for the judiciary to go straight to the heads of courts, why is it difficult to do that at state level? Is it just because you want to continue to retain control of the judiciary? Treat the judiciary like your houseboy? Is that the idea? Is that the goal? Because the judiciary is supposed to be an independent arm of government. For us to have justice, and for justice not to always go to the highest bidder, the judiciary must enjoy autonomy. Why should judges, for example, be going cap in hand to state governors? My vehicle is bad, sir. Please, can you approve that my vehicle be replaced? That was not envisaged by the Constitution. The Constitution expects that the judiciary will have access to their own funds. If they need to go for training, they will have funds set aside for training in their budget. They don't need to resort to you for their funds. If the judiciary thinks that that training is necessary, and a governor, because it happened in a not central state, I don't want to mention the state, but that governor is probably looking at me now and ashamed of himself. The judiciary wanted money for training. The governor was asking, is it really important? How will you know that it's important? You will not know that it's important. You are not a judge. You are not a judiciary
that's the power
staff. How will you know that it is important? But because you are governor, you now felt, okay, you could decide whether they went on that trip. Something, I mean, on that training, something that would develop them, make them better. So this is the point that we are making. And to imagine that governors were talking about the need to restructure our country and all kinds of things. Yes, I support the Southern Governors meeting that they held. I liked a lot of the ideas that they came up with.
Daughter declaration.
But the restructuring that we are talking about should start even at state level. And these governors should begin to work towards restructuring at state level, starting with autonomy for local councils. I don't know why anybody will be opposed to autonomy for local government. You will never be able to convince me that local governments don't need autonomy. You will never be able to convince me, no matter who you are.
You want to?
I don't know why anybody. Yes, you don't know. I don't know why anybody will oppose autonomy for the judiciary when that's what the Constitution says. We obey the Constitution as big people in our country. Obey the Constitution when it is convenient for them. That is wrong. That is wrong.
Well, Mujid, I don't want to play the devil's advocate here, but from your own perspective, from what you gathered, why do you think these governors have refused to, put this in place? Why for dragging?
They know why they are doing what they are doing. But what baffles me is that, apart from the fact that provisions for the judiciary and the parliamentary arm of government, which we also know as the legislative arm of government. No, there are 3 tiers of government: the executive, the judiciary, and legislative. So, the executive, are supposed to be executing some of these things, as the name connotes, while the judiciary is supposed to make laws. So it's supposed to enforce laws and stuff like that, while legislative is supposed to make laws. Now, for them to be independent, the Constitution makes provision for the judiciary and the parliamentary to be in the first line charge. That is, their allocation is supposed to be unfettered from the office of the Accountant General of the Federation straight into the accounts of the judiciary and the parliament.
So you won't be at the mercy of...
Now, the fact that this is in the Constitution, President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday, May 22nd, 2020, also signed an executive order stating that monies meant for the judiciary and the parliamentary in all the 36 states of the Federation should go straight to their accounts. But up to now, the state government, the Nigerian Governors Forum, have not been able to execute that.
No, they ran to the president now.
Yes.
They ran to the president and stopped him from gazetting it. If I were the president, I would have gazetted it.
So,
what are they going to do to me?
That is it.
Are they going to impeach the president?
Now,
I would have gazetted it because it's in the interest of our country.
Most of the state houses of assembly have been shut down, except, I think, Lagos, which I learned is effecting a partial autonomy.
And they are saying they don't want that, they want them to...
That is it. So that's why at a point, the courts in Lagos, Johnson in Lagos suspended his strike. But basically, all courts in the federation and states and all the houses of assembly are under lock and key, have been under lock and key since April 6. So, but that of Johnson is more pronounced. The parliamentary too, the
legislature,
the Parliamentary Association of Nigeria, they call their own acronym is PASSAN or PASSION, like people will say in Yoruba. So,
okay, I have a lawyer and a member of Johnson, Odiana Erieta, joins us via Skype for more insights on this. Thank you for staying with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm sure you can hear me clearly, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Where are you? At what stage are you now on this industrial action? Can you?
We are private practitioners. We are lawyers, and we are absolutely in support of the strike action that has been carried out by the judicial workers. Because to a very large extent, we believe it is the right thing to do, and it's coming at the very right time. Though I thought this could come maybe but possibly when there are these general elections. Maybe that is when the government of the day, mostly the governors, would have taken us or taking the judicial workers more seriously. What they are doing is not in the interest of the workers alone, it's in the interest of the lawyers and the interest of Nigerians. Because my worry, really, is the arrogance on the part of, with all due respect, arrogance on the part of our government. The provision of the Constitution is very clear on this issue. Distribution and separation of powers, and the financial autonomy order, the executive order that was signed by Mr. President last year, was meant to reinforce the provision of the Constitution. In other words, the payment or the allocation for the judicial arm and the legislators ought to be placed on the first line side and deducted straight from the federal allocation to the heads of court and the heads of the legislatures in each of the states. So what is difficult in implementing this? Of recent, we know there have been several consultations and meetings. The governors have also met and suggest a situation where there will be state allocation committees. And for me, I just pray the judicial workers and the entire judicial sector do not fall into this. It will just end up like the local government experiment. They created a joint account at the end of the day, and they messed it up. And if that is allowed to happen with the judiciary, it means the 6 weeks you have stayed at home amounts to nothing. I think it's in the interest of Nigerians, even the city governors themselves, that institutions need to be strengthened and they show that there's a pure separation of power. It might not be an absolute separation of power as it were, but in practice, I agree we have school of thought that there has to be sometimes mutual cooperation, but we also have the school of thought which is more embracing that it is only when you have this separation that there will be liberty. In Nigeria, for instance, you have a situation where the governors control the legislature, the governors control the executive arm of the government. Of course, he personifies the executive arm of government. The governors also control the executive arm. You see a situation where you cannot, let's say that there's a kind of tyranny, dictatorship at the state level. What you see at the national level, the little, I will say, use the word advocacy, or the little independence, or the little strength they have shown at the National Assembly, is because to some extent they enjoy some level of financial autonomy. If you can demonstrate that at the state level, I can tell you the legislatures and the judicial arm of government will be able to live up to expectations. For instance, I have a case against the federal government. There was a case, a day I went travel from Lagos to Benin. I could not access the Federal High Court. The road in a complete mess. You cannot access the court because erosion took over the court. we couldn't host. I came back to Lagos. I wrote to the Minister of Work. I wrote to the Presidency. I wrote to the Governor of Edo State. I wrote to the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, and also to the Chief Registrar. At the end of the day, what we got is that from the judicial arm, now the CJ of the Federal High Court and the Chief Registrar said they do not have power, even to if they are to repair anything, if the roof is leaking, they do not have such power. If anything happens with the facilities of the court, they do not have power to fix it, except they have to depend on the executive arm of government. What I did was to file action against the federal government and the state government. I can tell you up to now, none of them have filed the statement of defense. It was only last adjournment the Federal High Court filed the statement of defense. And to say, okay, the road leading to the Federal High Court belongs to the state. If the road leading to the Federal High Court belongs to the state, what happened to the facility itself? Up to now, no answer has been given. So these are the challenges we face. We support it absolutely, and I can say with all sense of responsibility that the suggestion by the state governor to create a kind of allocation committee, whatever they call it, is just a trap to start the entire process.
Now, how has the negotiations gone? Because we want to believe that this past 6 weeks there must have been some negotiations. How have they gone?
Well, to some extent, I think the government at the federal level, irrespective of our reservations in so many areas, on this strike action and the demand by the union, they seem to be more upcoming. But again, they are not looking at it politically. Possibly they are looking at maybe the emolument, arrears, salaries of the judicial workers. They are not taking it entirely. I think that is the only issue they have with those at the federal level. For the ones at the state, they are saying, well, we don't have the kind of funds you want us to disburse to the judicial arm. Otherwise, it will affect the running of the state. And as such, none of them have been committed. So whether I'm paying or not. We have some governors, some states, for instance, Lagos states and some other states that are saying, oh, yes, we are implementing. Almost all of them are saying they are implementing. But in the recent, the implementation is much of the breach or the provision of the Constitution and the executive order. In Lagos State, for instance, yes, they said they are paying their judicial workers. How much are you paying them? I can tell you some of the magistrates in Lagos don't even have vehicles to drive to court. We have situations of that nature. In Rivers State, for instance, our big Okada, without sense of respect to him, I buy them cars. Is that what is expected of a judicial entity? A judicial. This is a segment of the government. You are not supposed to be buying cars as a Philippines you. So they will still have a long way to go. But for what
they buy cars by themselves.
I believe there has to be a meeting point. It's not a fact that we'll be able to finish right now. There has to be a meeting point. But I think to a very large extent, Nigerians, the lawyers, and all the judges are in support of what is going on.
Yeah, we have seen that most of the governors want to be the one to provide some of these amenities for the judiciary. Like the NJC recommends that vehicles should be provided before the names of some state high court judges are forwarded to the NJC for ratification. I mean, how do you see this in line with the financial autonomy that we require for the judiciary?
That is just my concern, a very deep one for that matter. If we are still relying on the government to provide vehicles for the judges or magistrates, for judges particularly, or magistrates as well, when you are forwarding their names as well for appointment, it means the financial autonomy the independence of the judiciary that we have stayed at home for over 6 weeks now. It's only little that has been achieved, if anything at all. I believe we need to stress this point. If you look at I had the opportunity of looking at the executive order number 10. If you read through it, a very large extent, I think it is one of those instruments that has come out of this government that some of us say, I think effort is being made. The process for allocation, and it's even desire of the judicial arm in each state to set up their budget office that will interface with the legislative arm. So the idea of submitting your own budget as it were to the executive for presentation on behalf of the judiciary ought not to be. You need to set up an office that will interface with the other arms of government. And at the end of the day, let as you want to buy cars, you do not just need to depend on the executive arm or for somebody to approve purchase of cars for the judicial arm. So for me, it's just a thin line of an assumption that something is being done, whereas nothing is being done in the circumstance.
Now, as a lawyer who has been practicing for some time, how much of influence and power would you say the executive wields over the judiciary currently in our country?
Well, I would say that with caution. But the way it is that we are not comfortable with the way the system runs. They say he who pays the piper pays the tune. So if at the end of the day, the appointment of judges and magistrates is subject to the whims and caprices of the political class, which is the executive of the state, you really can have the liberty in the system because you now have the entire power. They run the executive, they run the legislative, and let us not pretend about it. They install the speaker, of course they determine who becomes a member of the House of Assembly. And to some extent, let's not pretend with the window dressing, the judicial commitment to the NJC and all that. My brother, this whole system is run by the political class. At the end of the day, you really can find, except very courageous judges. And I can say that some of the judges or judgments you can still see. Not all, but some. The Lagos State Judiciary and all that. Some judges see some more courage to do the needful. There's a situation where so many things are not done in accordance with the Constitution. You really can say as a lawyer that there's freedom in this system.
Okay, let's look at the effects now on the judiciary, on court cases. Several trials, several other cases that are meant to come in front of the courts. This strike, it has been stalled because of this strike. A lot of people that are waiting trial, a lot of people that are being held by the police, thinking that they are going to send them to court, they are still in custody. And several other cases like that are meant to have been attended to, but because of this strike, we have this situation.
Well, that is one of those sacrifices. If you are fighting for liberty, you are fighting for freedom. It's something you cannot get on a platter of gold. We are suffering it, the system is suffering it. And how else can they pass their message? The judges cannot go on strike. They have not been on strike. It's the judicial workers. I agree that to a very large extent, the judges can't function effectively without the workers, the support staff. I believe there are some few things they are doing which they can do to ameliorate the system pending when the strike is eventually called off. The impact is actually, I will use the word cautiously, yet not too good. I don't want to say it's harmful to the system, but because we need a better system, and we can't continue in this manner. There are so many people awaiting trials, and that doesn't stop judges or magistrates to pay visits to some of the prisons in line with the laws of the state or administration of criminal justice. There are things they can do, so many, even when the courts are not open. But as a liberal person, I know there will be one way or the other be sorted out. Like I said, the fight cannot be completed or concluded effectively. It's a starting point. We have never had it 20 years of practice now. I have not been at home for 6 weeks without not going to court. So I am sure the government, mostly the governors, who are very complicit in this situation, will now know that things are not done that way. I am sure with time we'll be able to achieve the results that we actually desire. System institutions need to be properly put in place so that we can have an effective democratic system.
What role has the Labour Minister played in all of this? Has he really been effective in seeing an end to this strike?
Well, with respect to the Labour Minister, they are very good at calling for meetings. The federal government, they are good at reaching agreements, memorandum of understanding and all that. Why we cannot really condemn their effort is that of a truth, the president has been able to sign the executive order number 10. So that forms a difference for the Labour Minister and the national body. So, but I think they need to do more of the work than they talk. Now that the state has made a proposal which is being rejected by Houston, I am sure the federal government should sit with them and see how possible. There has to be a meeting point. We can't just bring the entire system to a close. We've started it. I am sure with time we'll be able to achieve the desired goal.
Yeah, thank you. For the National Assembly, it's already enjoying autonomy as well as the judiciary at the national level. Now, the National Assembly can wake up one day, we are buying so number of vehicles at so amount. Nobody checks them. Now, I think the fears of some of these governors is the fact that when we get to the state level, who acts as checks and balance for them when they eventually get their own autonomy? How do we address that?
Who acts as checks and balance with the executive arm?
Of course, the legislative arm checks, monitors their budgeting system.
Oh, this legislative arm, the House of Assembly.
We are the installed speakers.
I think we need to stick to power. They are not being checked. And if you look at the executive order number 10, processes, yes, even the order also suggests that as it should be said, processes must be put in place to regulate the disbursement and usage of this money. Yeah. In other words, it's not a complete fiat that, once the money comes, you use it the way you like. That is why they suggest that the budget, there has to be an office set up by the chief justice of each of the states or the chief judge to ensure that there's a budget office. In other words, there has to be appropriation prior to the allocation of these funds from the first line side. Meaning what is going to be purchased or what is going to be done, whether infrastructure or recurrent or capital expenditure of the judicial arm of government would have been pictured. It would have been pictured in the appropriation that was passed by the House of Assembly. So the House of Assembly is there. The House of Assembly, yes, is to make laws. In other words, the House of Assembly also have the right to do some oversight functions. Of course, they do some carry out over. That is an effective House of Assembly, not the kind of ones we have today. Could carry out oversight function in some of the activities of the state. Nobody is foreclosing that aspect of the law. But what we are saying, to some extent, let the judicial arm of government have ability to take charge of the activities of their workers, the infrastructure, the payment for the judges, and also for the judicial workers. I think there's a thin line, but I am saying, okay, right now in Lagos, they set up the Anti-Corruption Commission. I am one of those that said the Anti-Corruption Commission must not be thrown away. Maybe it's like throwing away the baby and the bathwater. Since the law does not forbid them for setting up the Anti-Corruption Commission, which has to overlook the activities of the state, I am sure other states should draw examples from Lagos State. Set up modalities to see that the expenditures of the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary is properly or aligned with the budgetary allocation and the money that's been allocated.
All right.
At that point, I see that there will be check and balance. Therefore, the judiciary to depend solely on the executive for everything, I think it's a very dangerous situation. I will must try and come out of it.
I want to thank you, Odiana Riata, a legal practitioner and a member of JUSON. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
All right. Reaching home stretch now. As insurgency and banditry fester in the land, acute food crisis is staring us in the face. But President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged to use his available resources to ensure access to farms and food production in the coming farming season. Meanwhile, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has commenced distribution of relief materials to 24,925 households affected by banditry in Shiroro local government area of Niger State. 14 council areas are said to be in need of food and other supports over rampant banditry in the north central state. You know, this is pathetic. When you look at the number, 24,925 households are affected by banditry in Shiroro local government. Households. So you can do your multiplication.
Not Shiroro alone. Shiroro, Munya, Rafi, these are the three worst hit local governments by banditry in Niger State. Rafi is where you have the government secondary school, Kagara, that the students were kidnapped the other day. And they've been constantly attacking that area. Of course, Shiroro is where you have the presence of Boko Haram. So in terms of the intensity of the attacks, the frequency, and the occupation of areas, then you can say Shiroro is the sort of center of gravity for banditry in that state. Now, one of the ill effects of banditry and social disorder generally is that people will be displaced from their homes. I've seen videos and pictures of thousands of people trekking long distances in Shiroro local government, because you don't want to, if bandits or Boko Haram occupies your community, it's better you leave before the occupation takes root. Once the attack takes place, if you can leave, it's better you leave.
If you don't leave, you'll be
because if you don't leave, anything can happen. Because, look, why do you think people are leaving Gaydam? Because some of them have seen Boko Haram occupation before.
They're not
at the slightest,
human beings.
Yes.
They can shoot, they can kill anybody at the slightest provocation.
If they shoot, it makes sense in a way than to slaughter people. There are worse things that they do than simply shooting people, because they want to create fear in people, in the residents. They will bring residents out and slaughter them, and cause people to watch, so that you too will know that, look, you dare not do the same thing that person had done. So shooting is even
it makes it quicker, faster, easier.
If people have a choice between being slaughtered, being beheaded, and being shot, honestly, a lot of people will go for being shot, because the pain will not
to choose between the devil and the big
it's not what we want to see.
Oh,
it's not something palatable. It's terrible. It's terrible, but to behead a human being is what you don't want to see. You don't want to watch it. You don't want it to happen even to your worst enemy. But these people that we are talking about, they are stock in trade. That is what they do. Nobody wants to be under their control. And that's why more and more, the more these attacks take place, they also set ablaze houses. They create IDPs in the process. Go to Katsina, there are IDPs in Katsina. Because when bandits when bandits attack a community and they set people's houses ablaze, where would they sleep? The fear of banditry will cause people to leave.
Now, the president is now saying that this acute food crisis is staring at us, that if we don't do something about it, and already the prices of food in the markets is something to be worried about now. Because when you look at things coming in from up north, even things in the market here, everything very expensive. And tracing it, a lot of people are saying that, yes, it's because of the instability we have all around our country, that the farmers they don't have access to their farms again, and it's difficult to, produce.
At a point, the bandits were collecting, quote and unquote, tithe from the farmers.
Oh, you enter your own farm?
Yes, but now they even disallow them from engaging in farming activities. So after the Eid prayers on Thursday, the president spoke to some journalists and pleaded with Nigerians that his administration would tackle this banditry headlong, that is quite aware of the effects on the food supply chain, especially from the northern part of the country to other parts, and that he particularly appealed to the elites that the elites should understand that when you order for ammunition or military or equipment that they want to use to engage the bandits and Boko Haram and other insurgents, it takes time for this to be, for the order to be taken and for the manufacturing to be done. And even when it gets to Nigeria, they still have to engage in what we call training the trainers. I mean, I listened to him on national network, so where he explained some of these things, and also assured residents and farmers that the government would do everything possible, but beyond just mouthing it. We have been in this, Buhari has been in power for, it will be 6 years by next week, and it's not getting any better. They are moving closer to Abuja now, especially with the insurgency that we are witnessing in Niger. And also, about 2 weeks ago, there was a scare in Abuja that bandits were trying to move to town.
They even shot some schools in the
Buhari
area.
In the Buhari
school that...
Yes, in the Buhari area. So it's not just, it's not a mere threat. It's something that is real. And we can feel that from the prices of foodstuffs. The MD of Leadership Newspapers, Azui Chekwene, wrote a column last week where the wife was challenging him that he should that he should come and follow her to the market to come and see how prices have gone. And also my wife challenged me, in fact, to the extent that I almost canceled the Salah celebrations because of the bill they gave me to mark the Salah. And jokes apart, things are really getting scary. Now you can't even find a particular brand of fish like croaker in the market. It's as if it's had gone extinct. So I wonder whether...
Titus
you eat
is
something else.
2,000 per kilo.
So from about 300, 400 naira. So it's a reality that is staring us in the face.
And the pint of garlic is 1,100.
Yes. So it's really,
really... Very rich man food.
It's really, really scary. And when farmers, not only in the north, even in the southern part of the country, they can't access their farms.
The Barakba
axis, yeah.
Yes. All this north area. That's the major food production belt in the southwest. And it's the same problem that they have. Even in Ondo State, there is a laborer who used to live in my area here in Nakute, who left for home to take care of his cocoa farm. He's been lamenting that he wants to come back to Lagos because he's complaining that they can't access their farms. That if you take the risk of going into your farm,
could be kidnapped.
The herdsmen will kill you.
Yes, my mother even told me
how people will feel comfortable
before all these areas that they cannot enter their farm.
How people will feel comfortable to let their cows loose on people's farms and destroying people's means of livelihood, means of survival, is what I don't understand. And that's why the issue of an outright ban on open grazing is something that has to work.
It's a welcome development.
It is an antiquated way of life. Let cattle business be purely based on, be a business. And let there be ranches where these cows can be bred in a much healthier manner, where you have the presence of doctors, veterinary doctors. You have artificial insemination units to boost production, where you create even the milk unit. They don't need to go far. The milk unit will be right there within the ranch.
The cows will be healthy.
They'll be big. They'll be big. And you also have police security. So the issue of cattle rustling or people stealing your cattle while you are free ranging in the forest will not happen, because you have standby police. That's why I like the Kano governor. I appreciate his efforts. Even in Fagore Forest, the neglected Fagore Forest, you see, he has brought it back to life. We have neglected a lot of our forests, and we are paying for it now. Those forests have become home to the Dogo Gides and other criminals. Thank God, the army reportedly arrested one of the kingpins of bandits in this is Danso Shia Forest, where the governor has created a ranch.
Yes, for ranching.
Yes, this forest stretches to the border of Kaduna. That's Ikara local government in Kaduna, and there are already many Fulani herdsmen from Kaduna state, from Katsina, other states. They are already here. Look at their cattle. So they built houses for you. They built a mosque for you.
Secured.
You have access to water. So it's better than going and going all the way to the south and trampling on people's farms.
Yes.
I can tell you, even the conflict. Yes. And I spoke with them. They told me, look, we are happy here. We have no plan to leave this place.
Because everything to make them comfortable.
That's sea water. Sea water.
Yes.
If
you have this
so there are
across
different
the country.
drinking points. There are different drinking points. Look at their livestock.
So they don't have to leave that area.
No, why are they going? They don't have to leave the area. That's where they are.
I think this will solve our problem now.
That is why. It's one of the suggestions that it's one of the ideas that those governors came up with that I'm happy with, because this conflict that we have, that is forcing farmers to not go to their farms and creating food insecurity, if we are not careful, this year will be a terrible year in terms of food security, because across the country there is insecurity. People can't go to their farms.
It's telling on everything.
Both for milk and meat production, this is achievable. Ranching is achievable. As you can see with the kind of arrangement between WAMCO, Friesland, the USA, and the state governments.
Yes.
I mean, where
they brought in some cows.
Yes,
hybrids.
Hybrids.
Hybrid cows.
And those cattle will be at the same location. It's not as if we are going to be on free range.
No.
Then they are, since about 6 months ago, they have been planting hay. I mean, that cool them, that they will be using to feed this cattle. So there are no hard and fast rules about this. We only need to be committed. The kind of thing that the Kano state government is doing, if we can get some of the state governments across the federation to do that, both for meat and the meat production, then this problem of herdsmen and even
farmers.
cattle rustling and farmers will come to an end. And that's why I'm so much in support. I'm 100% in support of the decision of the Southern government forums, where they took a decision to ban open ranching.
The only thing I said,
outrightly.
Because I wanted to ask you today.
the only problem there is you have to give a time ceiling for it to take off. Take off.
I wanted to ask that what will make somebody prefer to, for grazing, to walk thousands of hundreds of kilometers?
It's a way of life. It's a way of life that they are used to. And
wanted to be in a place that they will provide everything for you.
We had not made serious. When those guys say that they have been neglected for so long, I agree. Even their cattle routes, greedy people they began to encroach on the cattle routes and build houses and other things on them. So they've been neglected for so long, and now you can see a governor in Kano who is a Fulani man himself, who told us that, look, I didn't even know how to speak Hausa until I almost finished primary school. So he's Fulani. He himself had taken cattle to different places in the past. Now he realizes that, look, even for the health of the cattle,
it's not sustainable.
They don't have to go that far. They will be lean. We see pictures of cattle from Florida and other places. You see how big they are. Even the milk production will be way greater than when you allow them to free range and suffer the way we have now. So it is a new way of life, a new way of cattle breeding. They just need greater sensitization. And I can tell you, because I have friends among even Mieti Allah people. I was speaking with their secretary and he said, see, that's Ottoman. He said, see, Jide, that's Gezarma, the man from Yobe State. He said, Jide, this is the way to go. Amongst them, amongst even Mieti Allah members, I'm not talking about Mieti Allah Kautahore, because those ones, they are not even they are just a small faction. It's not the mainstream. The mainstream Mieti Allah is the one that you have Gezarma as their secretary. So he said that a lot of them are even developing ranches of their own, no matter how small, because everyone has seen that this is the way to go. Not to be somebody plants a wedu and you let cow loose on his farm.
I'm always
everything.
I'm always in Southwest. The ones I see, you can see a 7-year-old boy, 8-year-old boy with 100 cows, and I'll be tripping that are they able to control these big things, and they'll travel hundreds of kilometers down.
Another key point driving their resolve to continue to engage in open grazing is the fact that they don't want to spend money on, they don't want to invest on what they are doing. Because
this will be capital intensive.
Yeah, because it's free. When they engage in open range, the crops they eat are free.
Free. At the detriment of another person's farm.
So
that's what is,
they don't want to invest. They are used to that old way of
they are just used to it. A lot of them are not that wicked to simply be eating people's crops. No.
No, but
a lot of them are not.
But most of them don't care. Most of them don't care. So if you should really really feel for others. A farmer who engages in who plants his crops for almost a year, and your cattle go there one day.
I'm just trying to be sensitive,
but it's not,
because it's not all of them that are like
but
that.
They should learn to invest by setting up ranches, while the government also should be encouraged to also set up ranches for them. I think it's one of the things. I learned
that the governor of Zamfara has set up a big ranch in that state. I would love to even see what Matawale has done along that line, because I think Governor Ganduje has to be supported. He has to be commended for setting the pace, and we will definitely have peace. Even the killings in Zamfara, Katsina, and other places, it started from farmer header crisis. That's how it began. Because the Hausa man who works on the farms, and is the Fulani man who has the cattle. So conflicts will happen from time to time. And we can put an end to these conflicts if we do the right thing. And ranching is the way to go. Our people must be encouraged to put aside the old way of cattle breeding and embrace modern and far more beneficial approach.
Yeah, Muji Dami, I want to thank you. And I gather that July, sometimes in July is...
Yeah, we are looking at July 1920 for the Big Salah. Yeah.
The Big Salah. So, all road will lead to Magodo.
No problem.
Vicky himself, thank you so much for another wonderful production. It's the last 120 minutes. This is what we do every Sunday, 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of Journalist Hangout at 5 p.m. We're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.